Feelings is the new album. Tell me about Feelings, because what's interesting, well, you tell me.
Okay, I did a record, and for a number of reasons, I ended up working with a lot of other musicians or other bands, instead of kind of working with a group of musicians that I assembled or doing it myself or whatever.
In a variety of locations.
In a variety of locations. I'd written a song, and I'd call up some band I liked and go, well, I've written a song that sounds like the kind of things you do. Do you want to try working on it with me? So I'd go to where they were, and we'd give it a try, and sometimes it worked, and it didn't always work. But
well, give me an example of that. What cut would be that?
Well, all right. A real easy one was the very last cut, They Are in Love.
Yeah.
I'd written this kind of little tango, kind of odd little love song, and I thought, this would really sound good as a kind of, whatever, Berlin cabaret tango, kind of slightly broken down tango orchestra thing. And I'd heard a band that sounded exactly like that in Seattle one time when I was on tour. And I thought, well, instead of trying to get somebody else to copy their sound, why not just call them up? And it's easier for me to just fly out there and do it with them. So I continued doing that. I did it with a British band, Morchiba, and some people in Miami, some people here in New York.
Wicked Little Doll, that was with?
A group called Devo in L.A. And in many cases, we were working with, I wanted to work the way they worked. I didn't want them to come to me. In this case, I would go to them, and however they worked on their own things, I wanted them to be comfortable in their situation. And in many cases, people were working in their home studios. So we'd record in somebody's apartment. Now,
are they sort of surprised when they get a call from you? Big deal that you are saying, I want to come and record a song that I think is you. Yeah, sometimes there'd be a little bit about, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yes. This guy says he's David. Yeah. But that passed pretty quickly. Now, what about recording in your apartment in places like that, which is not sort of professionally perfect? Yeah, it's not right for everything. You could not record an orchestra in your apartment. No, you couldn't do that. But you got subway noise. I mean, you got got the buses outside, and sometimes country. You got the birds. Yeah, and sometimes that's a problem. But in many cases, just work them in. Yeah, in many cases, work them in. There's a couple of songs. There's one song where there's a little quiet lull, and you can hear an ambulance go by in the distance. It's part of what you intended to do, wasn't it? Yeah, and it fits perfect. Yeah. This cover, too, is rather interesting. This is a guy whose name is Yu-Gi-Oh! What's his name? I wrote it down somewhere. Yuji. I forget his last name. But okay. But he's a Japanese designer? Yes. He's a sculptor. Right. And usually he works for commercials, for advertisements, and does giant versions of chocolate bars, shaving razors, stalk of asparagus that look 100% real. But here? Here, this looks like a doll. He made a doll of me. Yeah. Which is the opposite of Feelings. Exactly. So that's the point, I guess. Yeah. And it's also, I gather it's also a comment on whatever, the public self versus the private self. The image that goes out and the one that stays at home. Is there a lot of difference between the two of you, the one that's out and the one that's in? There's a relationship between those two people, but they're not the same person, I don't think. How they're different? Well, the one that goes out is maybe more extreme in every way. More outgoing when he's outgoing, and more nervous, introspective, whatever, at those moments as well. And the other one is maybe less interesting, more boring, more normal. You went to the School of Design. Did you go? Yeah, I went to an art school for a while. The Rhode Island School of Design. You went down to Maryland somewhere? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what? How'd you get into music? I was always into music. I was always, when I was at school, I was either playing guitar or whatever I could get my hands on. But I always thought, you can't. That's not a career. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's for fun. Yeah, right. And at some point, some friends and I decided, well, let's give it a shot. Yeah. Well, let's just do it. If nobody likes it, well, fine. This was about when? Mid-'70s. Yeah. Talking Heads? Yeah. And
Well, people kind of liked it.
It certainly did.
And
Time magazine cover.
yeah, so, and it started off small, you know, maybe an audience of a few of your friends and 20 strangers. But it grew pretty quickly, and I realized, well, people liked it, so I eventually had less and less time for other things, less and less time for art that I'd gone to art school, which was fine by me. This was another kind of expression.
When you were singing, and I mean, when Talking Heads, what happened? I mean, it seemed like everybody loved it, and then all of a sudden, you know, you got other interest, and so the band is disbanded.
Mm-hmm. I think there was even during our most successful years, there was things where we'd each do our own projects, our side projects, which is all fine. And sometimes that kind of helps people stay together. But I think eventually the tensions and the gripes and the backstage grumbling and all that sort of thing got to a point where it just became kind of impossible to carry on. And rather than push it further until it affected the music, we parted ways. Not entirely amiably, but I'm glad we did it before it got really, before the creative work suffered.
How about you and Bertolucci? How'd you like scoring movies?
That was kind of fun. That was kind of fun.
Did you win an Oscar for that?
I did win an Oscar.
You and somebody else.
Which was, Ryuichi Sakamoto and another guy, which was kind of out of the blue. It was just not something either of us does all the time, and we do it from time to time. And that kind of came out of the blue. The odd thing about that was we worked on this, and Ryuichi was Japanese.
Right.
The music he did sounds in many ways the most Western. The music I did sounds the most Asian. Just kind of goes to show the grass is always greener on the other side.
Something, something like that. You have always been fascinated by ethnic music and music from beyond your experience. Mm-hmm. You know, what's the name of the album? You have Luaka Bop or something?
Yes, I have a label.
That right?
You are. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Practicing. What?
I have a small label called Luaka Bop.
Yeah.
We started off some years ago doing what's called world music, which is basically, I guess, non-Western pop music. Yeah. And we've expanded so that that's only part of what we do now. But that's how we got going. And it's been fun. I mean, it's music I love.
What is it you love about it?
I don't love it any more than many other kinds of music. There's rock music I love Hank Williams, I love some jazz. And so I just feel like this is music that I love equally, but for some reason it's not finding its place as far as listeners go. And yet, you know, I'd have myself and some friends, we'd go, we love this. Listen to this record by so-and-so. Why don't more people know about it? So.
Now, did anything happen after Paul Simon went to South Africa? I mean, you got a lot of attention for that album.
As far as South African artists, yeah, I think some.
You got a little attention there.
I think some people heard about it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, part of what you've done is fuse rock and sort of African rhythms.
That's been, yes, and that's been happening all the time anyway. The Africans do it. They've got electric guitars and drums, and they're doing it in one way, and naturally there's a huge either African, Latin, all kinds of influences coming over to this side too, so we're doing it on this side as well.
Yeah. Why do you call this Feelings?
It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, of course, with the doll on the cover.
Yeah,
but there's an element of truth to it.
What's the element of truth to it?
That a lot of the songs, I think, are not totally filled with irony, or they're not all tongue-in-cheek. Some of them really are about feelings.
Well, how about the one about America, Miss America?
Well, that one is kind of tongue-in-cheek. America as a not entirely nice woman.
Yeah.
But a woman you can't help but be attracted to.
Do you write all the lyrics?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you don't read. And how does that process work for you?
Lately, it's been where there's a melody. I have a melody before I have words.
Yeah.
And this sounds completely backwards to what
ought to be done.
Yeah, what ought to be done. But usually I have music and a melody, and then I keep singing the melody over and over in my head, and eventually I find words that fit it, and eventually, if I'm lucky, I can find words that actually tell a story and convey something that seems important to me. But what's odd is that something that I want to say, something I want to convey, something I want to express comes out, but it's not as if, okay, there's something I want to express. How do I say it? How do I sing it? What melody do I put to it? It's sort of, that's the last thing that goes on.
Are you shy?
A little bit, but nowhere near as
much as used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be bad.
Yes.
What? I mean, how do you be shy and be a rock star?
I think it makes perfect sense. It's kind of a compensation. I think you can be the quiet kid in the back of the class, and then, but in your mind you're going, wait till I get my electric guitar, and then I'll show them what I can do.
So you were just waiting to get the hands on that guitar.
I'm sure I was, yeah.
What's your great passion today? To play music, to write, to paint, to do photographs? You've had photographic exhibitions.
Yeah,
You've done everything.
Well, not everything, but it's there's a few different things I'm working on simultaneously. The record label is a big passion.
Yeah. To introduce other music.
Yeah. You make it sound altruistic, but it's kind of the natural instinct of a fan, of somebody who loves something and has got to tell their friends about it.
Yeah.
It's just it's something you can't help doing. So that's a passion. My own music and playing is a passion. It's a real joy, and I take photographs and kind of put photographs together using computers and that kind of thing, and I feel pretty strongly about that too.
How would you like to act?
I tried it a little bit, and I did not like it.
Why? Why?
You know, it could be the kind of thing where I thought, you know, there's a line you cross. I could see it. Yeah. That if you're acting, that there's a line you cross, and if you cross the line, then you slip into that other character. And I can do that when I'm singing. If I have the artificial aid of a song, you can slip into the character, the frame of mind, where that the song conveys. The song helps you, but without that, just having to, without any of those crutches, just to slip into another frame of mind, another attitude, I didn't feel like I was able to do it.
You seem almost childlike a little bit. You think that's true?
Yeah, probably. Probably. I don't take that as an insult.
No, I don't either. I don't offer it as an insult. I offer it as praise almost. I mean, there's a kind of wonderment about it all.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I'm just still amazed by stuff. And in my line of work, that's kind of an asset.
You bet it is. The album is called Feelings. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you on the broadcast.
Thank you.
I look forward to having you come back.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow night.